By this point, everybody's seen Steve's PMLG technique, a trick that lets Steve escape hit stun in different situations and, in theory, allows him to start devastating combos off of getting hit himself. But the key point is in theory, as on first reaction, yeah, it seemed broken and game-changing. Even I thought early on that the tech itself warranted a ban.
Okay, so before I start anything, I agree this tech should be banned.
Ooh. That ultimately led to Steve bans taking place across the US, and while I have my own thoughts on that, it's not what I'm here to show you today. Because the more time that others and I spent looking into it and seeing how useful it actually is in matches, we learned that, well, PMLG kinda sucks for Steve. Don't believe me? Let me show you then. First, let's go over some common misconceptions about this tech. Number 1, this is not a way to get out of true combos. Should your combo not be true or just a frame off, then yes, in theory this can be set up. So similar to Duck Hunt, Snake, Luigi, or other characters with frame 1 escape options, it'll let him escape. But it's not as easy. Why not? Well, that brings me to my second point. 2. You cannot do this tech on accident. Steve has to not only willingly store PMLG through timing or buffering a B press in the end of an animation, but he must also press B a second time on reaction to when he gets hit. And unlike the first 2 B presses needed to store and activate PMLG, he needs to time this action out of PMLG, so even if he's a frame too early, it will not work. This tech cannot be done on the ground, so if you're standing on the ground and get hit by a move, it is impossible to activate PMLG no matter how hard you try. 4. This tech does not get you out of any hit. If your move sends it to tumble, Steve will not be able to use PMLG against it. Here, Steve is at 0%, and when he gets hit by JD Kong up air, he can PMLG out of it. But if he's just at 5%, as you can see the smoke trail coming out of Steve, that means that he gets put into tumble and PMLG will no longer work. So if your character has a bread and butter combo that puts the opponent into tumble percent, then PMLG essentially just becomes useless. Now, let's go over the specifics of PMLG and its applications to show it's not as easy to hit as it first seems. Originally, I was testing out some PMLG applications with DD to see just how useful it was. So we were testing out some situations where it would be useful, and one situation that came to mind was doing PMLG through Palutena's Nair. We tried it for a while and it didn't work, so later on I went into training mode to find out the timings. And we discovered something that shows just how hard it is for Steve to actually PMLG a lot of moves, especially outside of training mode. Let's go through what it takes to PMLG through Palutena's Nair, for instance. From the moment Palutena hits us with Nair, we can start to buffer the B press immediately, but starting on frame 3 you can input PMLG, and this is where I found the problem. If we were to import our option on frame 1 or frame 2, it just wouldn't work, meaning it has to be timed exactly to the hit on reaction. And on top of that, if you're a frame or 2 too late, your air dodge, Steve's fastest option at frame 3, will not work, so you'll just end up getting hit regardless. Then, I got curious if this is true for other characters, so I went with the next best option, Byleth. I did the same exact setup, input an air dodge on frame 3, and it didn't work. As it turns out, because Byleth's Nair has higher hit freeze, you have to input your air dodge on frame 4, and this goes true for every single hit. So every move in the game has its own unique timing for PMLG depending on the hit freeze that it has. Which that is what makes it so difficult to use in practice, because you need to know how to react to each individual move and know the timings for it and when the frame comes out. And when you have to factor in reaction times to it, you can see that it starts to get much more unrealistic. Now let's look at Fox up air. It has a total of 8 frames of hit freeze, so pressing air dodge from frames 1 through 7 will mean it just won't work. It has to be frame 8. And why not frame 9? The first hit of Fox up air comes out on frame 9, and the second hit comes out on frame 12. That is a 3 frame difference, and Steve's fastest option is air dodge at frame 3. So for this case, you have to be frame perfect if you want to escape from Fox's up air. This frame difference also means that certain moves are just impossible to PMLG. Mario down air, Rob up air, and Yoshi down air, for instance, are just too fast and therefore impossible to escape from. But that was just multi-hits. Let's talk about the single hits for a second. Now, unlike multi-hits, single hits are a lot easier to PMLG through because you're allowed to be late in inputting it. But again, if you're too early, it will not work. Let's take Cloud Up Air for instance. It has a total of 13 frames of hit freeze, so if you input your option anywhere from frame 1 to 12, then it just will not work. Now, let's say hypothetically you do get it on the 13th frame, and you input minecart. As you can see, it's a punish. But let's just look at the context for a second. Cloud is going for a full hop up air in neutral against a Steve at 0%. That's just kind of unrealistic a lot of the times. Lots of the times you'll be seeing Cloud going for up air like this but low to the ground so they can cancel it and get a combo. And, as you can see, if he does do it low to the ground, like any decent Cloud would, minecart just won't work. And what if Steve does a down air? Well, same thing, any form of air drift just beats it out. Now, let's look at if hypothetically, Steve somehow manages to get this tech every single time despite its inconsistent frame perfect and near frame perfect inputs. If he does that, and air dodges, which again is his fastest escape option at frame 3, he kinda just gets frame trapped very easily. Here's some examples. And with Byleth Nair, funnily enough, you can't escape a neutral air dodge. Air dodge right. Air dodge down. But you can escape with air dodge up. So if you can go for that against Byleth, then do air dodge up. You're totally gonna be safe. Trust me on this one. Even if you miss what should be a true combo, like Inkling's up throw up air, if you can somehow manage to time it properly mid-match and air dodge escape through the first hit of up air, unfortunately there's enough time for Inkling to just roller you and get a punish afterwards, so... Getting frame trapped with these options just isn't good, and especially if you're trying to get ready to get hit by an option so you can PMLG out of it, why aren't you just attacking your air dodging beforehand? Much easier to do, much less risk, and much better reward. Finally, let's just go over the big issue. Steve, unfortunately, just isn't a character who can really use this to a good degree. Steve is a character who wants to play grounded. He wants to mash up tilt, fish for grabs, mine behind walls, and minecart pretty much every second he can. He's not an air fighter. He's a ground-based character who can combo you into the air, but when you have to rely off of stray hits from PMLG, it's extremely inconsistent. Why would you try and PMLG through an attack you think is coming and reacting to, rather than just drifting out of the way and then mashing up tilt? Let's say Jigglypuff had this tech. She's a very airborne fighter, so these opportunities of PMLG would be present at any point. And if she did hit one, that's essentially a guaranteed rest. Steve unfortunately just isn't that kind of character. Not to mention, this setup only works when you don't get set into tumble. A Palutena isn't going to go full hop back or you in neutral sub 10% so you can PMLG it, no. She's going to be fishing for Nair to get you to at least 40%, and just like that, PMLG won't work. Every Twitter clip that was shown was just crafted in a way to where you can get that exact position so that you can get a perfect punish so it can get all the likes that it needs to. But in an actual match, that's just not plausible. There's a reason you've probably never seen it really implemented in tournaments that allow Steve. He just has so many better options, and that mixing with an inconsistent execution test based on reaction, it not working at higher percents, and Steve just not being an air fighter to really abuse it, you can see why for Steve, PMLG sucks. And hopefully now you're at least able to understand why. Thanks for listening to this all the way until the end. Or if you just skipped to the end of the video, well, that was your choice. I don't know what else to say. Hopefully you're able to get a better grasp of PMLG as a whole and learn something new. Whether something comes of this or not, at the end of the day, this information is out there for you or anyone else to know. So feel free to share it with anybody who's having trouble understanding PMLG, as long as they're willing to listen, that is. If you do still have any more questions regarding PMLG, feel free to let me know in the comments below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And with that all said and done, hope you all enjoyed.